have a lone passed pawn, a connected passed pawn, or a protected passed pawn. So here what we're going to talk about is the concept of lone passed pawns in the middle game. And honestly, I have a very simple theme in mind with that. Basically, this is a principle that I think is incredibly simple and almost always true. But when you have a lone passed pawn in the middle game that's very far advanced, usually the best thing you can do is attack the enemy king. And that might sound backwards, like why am I launching an attack when my main asset is the passed pawn? But basically my argument is that in a middle game where there's a lot of pieces on the board, if you have only one passed pawn and it's not connected, it's very rare that you can simply shove it up the board. But what usually you can do is point out that your opponents are busy defending against that pawn, and as such they're less capable of covering other parts of the other side of the board. So for example here, this was a game that I played with Tim Morgarev some years ago. At this moment he sacrificed the piece on f4, which was the best move. He dropped back with bishop f1, there came queen h4. And here after rook takes b4, rook takes b4. During the game I thought we're making a draw here. I just thought he's repeating moves. I didn't see any particular need for black to continue the game. He is a rook down after all. And then he found this move from another planet, g5. The move itself is rather simple. The man wants to play bishop g3 and queen f2 mate without rook f4 happening. And it actually is incredibly hard to stop. And here I did not find the best move, which was rook a8. Very hard. I played e4. With the point that after bishop g3, I can go queen f3 and stop the mate, and queen takes b4, and queen takes g3. But after d takes e4, the threat has been renewed. So there came rook c4, with the point to meet bishop g3 with rook c2. What should black play now to cause maximum carnage in my position? It's your chance to beat me.
Push his passed pawn.
e3, I can go rook c2, and I have it under control. f5 seems like a guess, but f5 I can go queen b first. It's not a bad move actually, but he has another one. Yes. I don't think you want to trade off your attacking bishop like that. I will take it. You're down a rook here. Keep that in mind. Yes.
e3.
So this is what we're talking about. When you have a far advanced passed pawn in the middle game, a lot of you guys are trying to just shove this pawn down the board. I think that the best way to provide this e-pawn is to attack the king. Yes. Bishop where? So if I go rook c2. Now I'm going to keep in mind, guys, unless you stop me, I'm playing rook c2 against I think just about any legal move you can make. Yes. Rook d8, and if I see it, if rook c2, you want rook d1. Okay, rook d8, I'll go rook a8 and try to trade some rooks. Yes.
Queen g3.
Queen g3, I have under control.
I want to go g6, rook c2, king g7, just slide the rook that way, because the bishop's thin.
I heard a j-word, and I can always go rook a8.
Oh, just a rook.
I can always go rook a8 when I need to trade your rook, so I'm not scared of that. Yes. Bishop g3, I'll go rook c2 again. Keep in mind, like rook c2 is default my next move. Yes, sir.
Queen d2, threatening mate.
Threaten mate. Stop my rook from coming back. Right? So I have to go bishop g2 or else I made it next move. And now I'm only now, or he repeated once, but now I'm only now e3 comes. And now I'm so much less equipped to deal with this pawn. Because if we had played e3 directly in this position here, then after rook c2, I think I have everything under control. Right? But by first threatening mate with queen d2, he has not only forced my bishop to g2, which makes it easier for this pawn to go through, but he has also denied me the option of playing rook c2 later. So all of a sudden, this pawn is now becoming pretty scary. So already here, this is a very bad position. He's threatening he's also threatening queen e1 and queen f2 mate as well. So I had to do this move. Here came e2, rook e4. So now, this I think is the most critical moment of the game, and it's where it's more messed up, and I was able to save it. But white is very much dead if black finds the best way. But it's not totally trivial. Now there's a lot of good moves here, I think, that probably are technically winning. Like for example, my guess is a lot of you will suggest to move bishop g3. After bishop g3, what will take on e2, you will take back. You will probably get a situation where you take both my b and c pawns for your c pawn, and you end up with 3 on 2, same side with opposite bishops, but your king is much better than white's. The computer said it's sort of winning, but again, if the game continues, bishop g3, rook takes e2, queen takes e2, are you going to beat Magnus? Probably not, right? But I promise you, if you find the right continuation here, you will beat Magnus. And this is incredibly hard, but it is there. And it comes down to the same prospect. Yes, sir?
Bishop b2.
Are you sure?
The queen goes to b1, then you have queen d1.
Okay. Yes?
Bishop e4.
Okay, well, we need real variations here. You are a rook down, just giving me one move without a follow-up is fine. But the one hint I will give you is you need to combine the threats. I will tell you right now, you cannot forcefully queen your pawn. You also cannot forcefully give checkmate. But if you blend threats to the king with threats to promote the pawn, that's how you're going to win this game. I'll give everyone a second. This is a really critical moment. It's hard. It's 11:36 right now. I'm going to give everyone at least a few minutes to think this over and find a winning variation. Once you're ready. Are you guys sure? Can I have $1 million if you're wrong?
Sure.
Are you sure too?
I feel pretty good.
Okay, so you're going to beat Magnus here.
My idea is bishop d4, and you can't take it because then you promote a check.
Okay.
And then after that, you play bishop e3, and
So say bishop d4, if I go king h2, bishop e3, rook takes e3, queen takes e3, queen e1, are you going to beat Magnus?
okay, I see.
It's still very, I think black's probably still winning there, but like, you're definitely losing the threat. Yes?
Can you do queen d1 check?
Okay, king f2. Yes?
Bishop d4, then bishop f2.
Okay, that's the same as bishop. I will sacrifice my rook for your e2 pawn. You will probably end up with one pawn up in a very good position, but you're not going to knock the guy out. Yes. Okay, I guess I go rook a8, try to get these guys off the board. You have to blend the threats, guys. This is hard. Yes.
Bishop takes b2.
Yeah, that's what Timur played. My guess is you have blundered rook d7. And I tricked you.
Okay. Have we discussed bishop g3?
Yeah, white will take on e2, and you'll probably end up with one extra pawn and good winning chances. But are you going to beat Magnus? Yeah, in the game, black played bishop takes b2, which was extremely careless because then after rook d7, the tables are turned.
Queen d1.
Queen d1 right now, but then king f2.
Yeah, bishop d4.
King g3.
Queen d3.
Bishop f3. Yes.
Rook d8.
I'll go rook a8. I'm very happy to trade a pair of rooks whenever I can. My rook knight is so good, I guess now.
Bishop e8.
Should be that's fresh. It's actually clever though, because I can now go rook e7. It's not a bad move. Bishop b8, I guess if I play rook a3, let's say.
And then f5.
That's scary, but I don't think it's best. There's definitely something much stronger. Yes.
Rook B8.
Yeah, I'm very happy for the rook. Well, you guys, basically, I'm dividing you guys into two camps right now. Half of you guys are trying to promote the pawn, and the other half are trying to make the king. Neither one of these will work. You need to blend the threats together. Yes. Sorry? And after king f2? King g3? Yes.
Rook E8.
So you said rook e8?
Yeah.
And after rook a8?
Queen
I can't hear you speak
D1.
louder.
Queen D1.
Queen d1, king f2?
Bishop D4.
King g3?
E1 equals.
Rook takes e1. I think I'm alive there.
Yeah.
I hate to use such a violent analogy when there's young children in the room, but when you've got the guy up against the edge of the ring, you have to pound him right now. You need to knock him out. You cannot let him escape. You know, if you let white escape with one pawn less or something, you're going to be a long way away from winning the game. Like in the game, like for example, in the game black played bishop takes b2. His premise with this move is my queen is under attack, and if she remains on the a file, then e1 queen will come. And if she goes to b1, there's queen d1 check. This blundered rook b7, which was a very nice response. Even still, after queen takes b7, queen takes b2, check, I'm forced to come up to f2 to stop the pawn, f5 takes, check. I cannot go to g3 because after queen d3 I mated, so my king had to come to the center. And after this check, I cannot go king f2 because of this check, and then with king f3, queen d3, so I had to go bishop e4 and g takes h3. And this is very promising for black, there's no doubt, but he did not knock me out. And I ultimately saved this position. There is a way to knock white out here, and you have to be blending the threats. It's really hard. But it's really only 3 moves deep as well. Yes? This is starting to get weird. Okay. I mean, if after bishop g3, if I'm calling bishop g3 wrong because of rook takes e2, then I'll call king h7 wrong because of rook takes e2 if I set the timer. I mean, it doesn't, I know that's not super convincing or satisfying, but like, doesn't seem right. Yes?
So maybe
That's what I'm talking about. Queen d1 check, bishop d4 check. You cannot take the bishop because of e1 queen. And now we play this fantastic move. This makes 2 threats at once. Threat number 1, take this rook, and after take back, make a queen. Threat number 2, check king d3, queen f3 mate. Or king f3, queen d3 mate. White can avoid getting mated, and he can avoid this pawn becoming a queen. He cannot avoid both. Blending threats. Fair enough. Any questions? Very well spotted, I have to say. Yeah. No, it's a hard problem, but when it comes to this understanding that you want to blend the threat of promoting the pawn with the threat of mating the king, it makes perfect sense. It's 3 moves deep. Then here, there's nothing to be done. I can resign immediately. Any questions? So you might think that this game is sort of an isolated incident because this looks pretty atypical, but the same theme can come up a lot. So this was a game that I had played some years prior before that I wrote about in the book. After the book came out, another one that came up here was this game between Leko and Russia Lavrov. No, sorry, this was before the book came out. I wrote about this game before this one. So there was this interesting game here. Let's get to the beginning because it's not the relevant phase. Yeah, so here MVL did not want to sort of just wait to die because you cannot contest the e-file, and white just goes king d1 and c3, shuts down the bishop. And eventually either doubles on the h file or plays f4, f5, you should win. So Maxime decided to complicate the game like so. One after bishop takes d5, a4, and a3. Black is a piece down, but obviously is a very dangerous attack. So we came bishop c6, he takes b2 check, rook a2, and we ended up in this very interesting position here. Maxime threw more fuel to the fire with rook a4, take, and then here, bishop takes b4 is apparently best. Instead, they can't switch. Check. Queen b3 takes. Knight c6 was not great. Check here. And rook b4. So we ended up in this position. And up to here, there were some mistakes along the way, but this is the most interesting moment of the game. So what we see here is black has a monstrously powerful advanced pass pawn on the b2 square. But when we take one look at the piece assortment, we see that white has two guys that control the b1 square, and black cannot add two players to that square. He's out of pieces. One of them is a black square bishop. So the question becomes, how does black proceed? Yes.
E8 takes E1, H1 takes E1, Queen to H2.
Yeah, that's a good start. So take Queen H2. If King E3, then Bishop H6 should crush, because King E4, Queen F4 is made. King D4, Queen F2 is good, but I'll go King back to it. Now what? Okay, King F2. I got a Queen on D3. How are we going to fight for the B1 square here? Yes? Can't I take your bishop? Okay, but I mean, you'll win my rook for the queen, but like I'm going to remain g7. How are we going to fight for the B1 square? Yes?
Bishop a6.
Bishop where?
H6.
You're hoping to go to C1?
Yeah.
Not ridiculous, but let's say I go Queen G4. So be careful not to get mated. I do have more pieces than you, keep that in mind. Yes, is that a hand in the back?
Queen G3.
Queen where?
G,
You have to speak louder.
Queen H4.
Queen H4 you said? Why? You're not going to take my rook. I have the square under control. What we're seeing is the same problem here. You're not going to push this pawn through to B1. Not by fighting for the B1 square. What you need to do is blend threats to the king with threats of promoting the pawn. This is generally in middle games how you should try to play with far advanced pass pawn. Yes? Bang. You repeat it once. Very simple move. I'm going to play bishop h4. I'm going to checkmate you on the f2 square. It should not be hard for white to control the f2 square, but pray tell, show me how you control the f2 square while simultaneously keeping the b pawn under control. This is the problem. And this comes down to this basic premise. When you have a far advanced pass pawn in the middle game, and here this is even a late middle game because there's not that many pieces on the board, attack the king. Make unrelated threats to the enemy king. It really can be unrelated threats anywhere, but usually it's to the king. And then usually they will have to choose between stopping checkmate and stopping the pawn. Yes, sir?
What if white takes
Queen where?
B1?
Queen b1 now. I will go bishop h4 and checkmate you. You see, you stopped the pawn, but you couldn't stop both threats at once. Yes?
What if instead we go Queen B1, why not go Rook B1?
I will again play bishop h4 and make it.
Then what if Queen, then you go
Queen where?
B2?
Queen h1 is made. You cannot stop mate while keeping this b pawn under control. That's the whole problem. So in the game, for example, Lecco played rook c1, but there came bishop h4 anyway, and after queen d4 here, black has to be at least a little bit precise, but it's not too difficult. What should we play? Yes?
Queen F2.
Sorry?
Queen F2.
The queen on d4 is controlling the f2 square. Be careful here. Yes?
Queen H1 check, and then D1 queen.
But your bishop on H4 will hang at the end of the variation. So, I would prepare it.
Queen H3.
I don't think you want to let my king run. Like after Queen H3, King E2. I mean, let's play ball, guys. Take this king off the board. If I want to dump this king on A square, what would it be? Probably B1, right? Get in front of the pawn and you're reasonably safe. This king is currently stuck in the kill zone. It cannot leave. As soon as you start checking it, it will leave. So you don't want to start checking it until you're like immediately winning the game. Yes. So I go knight D4. I think Queen 6 is reasonable, but knight D4 I'm probably going to survive. Yes. Yeah, there's no need to rush whatsoever. We go bishop G3, and now we are ready to make a queen next. We could not make a queen right here, because after rook takes B1, check, and king E2, and the queen takes it B1, the bishop is hanging on H4. But there's no need to rush. What's white going to do to us in the next move? We go bishop G3, and now this move is threatened. And white can stop it with queen G1, and we go queen C2. And now we get through. And this whole problem is, you look at these pieces, they're incredibly ineffective at controlling both the B1 and F2 square at the same time. And that's why this was, I mean, if we're thinking about it here, and again, white played knight B4, but now there's no more discussion to be had. I guess it still takes a little bit of work to win this position, but Max game was more than enough of a challenge. It's not as much of it. I don't care about the rest. The really relevant part here was that when you look at this position here, we have to be thinking, how do I control the B1 square? And the way that we do that is by bullying these pieces off of the ability to fight for B1. We don't do that by attacking those pieces, and we don't do that by adding pieces to the B1 square. What we do is we make unrelated threats on the other side of the board that force these pieces to take on defensive roles to stop the mate, and then the pawn goes through. Now, a huge part of the reason this all worked was that while black is down a rook here, it sort of feels like he's down in exchange because the knight on C6 didn't really prove to be a relevant piece in most of these variations. But still, this is a premise that I talk about a lot, and I think it's really important to understand that pass pawns in the middle game take on a very different character than pass pawns in the end game. Now, of course, there's a ton more in both of these books that I would that I could talk about. I mean, I spent a long time writing them. This is just a tip of the iceberg. But I figure we should call it now. We've got 8 minutes left in the lecture, and I wanted to make sure we have some time in the end for just general Q&A about the books or about the topic, or really just anything you guys want. So. You ask me something super personal, I might not answer, but fire away. Any questions you guys have? Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at positions where both sides have serious attacking chances, usually a pass pawn is not the most relevant factor in that position. It usually would come down to who is attacking who first. It doesn't count, but it's a pretty niche situation to describe it. Other questions? Yes.
What's it like to play at your level? Are you still enjoying the game? Are you still having fun? Is it stressful?
Yeah, it's not so stressful, honestly. I mean, it can be. There's parts of chess that I really don't enjoy anymore compared to what I used to when I was not as strong. There's parts that I enjoy more. So things that I do not miss include playing 2 games per day or taking 3 buses because I couldn't afford a taxi when I was 17, things like this. Being able to be picked up at the airport, constantly play with strong players, never have to play too far down, get paid a mountain of money for games, and the way you don't for opens. That I definitely am much happier now. One thing I'm not happy about is that, for example, my last term at the American Cup, I played 6 white games. I played E4 every single game and got nothing but the Petrov and the Berlin every single game. And you cannot berate people for playing the openings they choose. I'm not going to go here and say that So and Dominguez are bad chess players for choosing to play this way. They're very, very good. They got to be as good as they are by following what they believe is their best chess, and it's their right to play this way. But I don't like that in elite chess it has become so risk averse that you just don't see people throwing out Sicilians and really trying to play it. It really feels to me like a lot of the best players in the world are happy to draw 95% of their games. That definitely frustrates me, but ultimately, the thing that I like most about chess is, for the most part, it's fair. There's things about the chess world that are quite unfair, but compared to, oh, I'm going to give the job to my boss's nephew, chess is a pretty darn just thing in the world. And I mean, it's incredibly draining. I don't love all the travel, but I love the game and I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's a fantastic career. Yes?
If there was an endgame with a king and rook and the opposite king had opposition, would it still be a draw?
King and rook against king?
Yes.
That's
but
it? That's always funny.
But the opposite, what if the opposite king had opposition?
The king and rook against king will always win. You can always lose a move to take the opposition away. Yes, in the back.
What's your favorite opening?
What's what?
Your favorite opening?
Favorite opening? I think I'd have to say the Nyorth. It's just Petrov is one of the I think it's very important to play a wide range of openings because you really need to develop an understanding of a diverse range of different kinds of middle games, from very quiet and boring to sharp and wild to everything in between. So I've played a lot of openings in my life, like really a lot. There's almost none that I haven't played, but Petrov is one of the ones that I've played. Yes?
When did you realize that you could possibly become a real world champion?
So, I mean, when I came into, I never come into any tournament thinking I'm incapable of winning. That U.S. championship, I mean, I came in at like 2670, and between Caruana and Nakamura, there was the world number, whatever, 2, 3, and 6 in the field, and before the tournament, I thought there was a chance I would win. I didn't think it was huge, but like after round 9, when I took the lead with 2 games to go, and I had an easier schedule than the guys following me, that's when I thought this really probably not happen. Yeah.
What is your thought process before and during the psychological?
So I have a very strict routine, like when it comes to sleeping and eating. So for example, my pre-game diet is always exactly 2 hours before the clocks are started. I have this protein powder that's like sort of nutritionally complete food. I would never eat it voluntarily. It's kind of disgusting, but it's very healthy and very good for long-term energy. So I'll mix a protein shake with that, usually with some cold cuts and about half a banana. And then when I come to the game, like I used to get nervous, and now I still get nervous when I play like way down, where I'm playing a game where loss is a disaster and I get nothing if I win. Those games I never get nervous playing with Magnus, so that doesn't bother me. But like, for the most part, I mean, I'm not an old man, but I've been doing this for long enough that I've sort of got into the routine when I play, and I try to keep the same thought process, just focus on my preparation, make sure I come ready for the game, full of energy and ready to fight. Yes, sir. It's just patience, honestly. Like for example, I mean, even now, like I hit 2730 in 2019, and now I haven't touched it since, and I've been lower than that for the last 4 years, bouncing usually around like 2710 to 20. It's just patience, understanding that when you're rated pretty low, moving up in the world is easy because you can just work harder than the people next to you. When you're number like 20 in the world, you think the guy who's number 19 isn't working really hard too. I mean, it's working hard is not a guarantee of success when you get to a high enough level, and that's a little discouraging because for most of your chess career, working hard sort of is a guarantee of success. But you have to be patient. You have to understand that there are definitely some people in the world who just cruise through life and have massive success because of their brilliance. Most people aren't like that. I'm certainly not. And huge success usually does not come to people who don't have the patience and the confidence that their training is going to eventually pay off. For me, it certainly did. It took a lot longer than I would have liked, but better late than never. Yes.
Did you ever have like self-doubt in your career? Like where you're like, I'm not good enough?
There were 2 phases in my career where this happened. So the first was when I was 18. I basically had to make 7 GM norms to become a grandmaster. Normally you have to make 3, but I kept getting my GM norms disqualified for really nonsense reasons. Like, Your round 2 opponent was from Cuba, and at the time you weren't allowed to play under the FIDE flag. And she had defected, and Cuba had cut her off, but the U.S. unaccepted it. So said, oh, this 2100 opponent you played was stateless, so that game doesn't count, so your tournament was only 8 games. Like, a whole ton of stuff like that. So basically, I wasn't getting my GM title, despite the fact that I earned it. Now, there's no doubt this wasn't fair that I had to get my GM at 19 instead of 18, but in the world of injustices that can befall a human being, this is a pretty darn trivial one. I didn't see it that way at the time. I mean, I was just a spoiled kid. I thought I shouldn't have to deal with any unfair hardships because, no one should deal with unfair hardships. The world should just be fair. I mean, you have to be really young to believe this. But yeah, I mean, I basically threw a temper tantrum and quit the game. And it took me 9 months to come back, but it's actually a funny story. So what happened was I said, yeah, I'm done with chess. Like, I have these 3 tournaments that I've already agreed to play: the U.S. Junior Championship, the U.S. Chess League, and the Berkeley International. So the first was the U.S. Junior Championship. I came in the 2nd seed behind Ray Robson in a 10-player round robin, and I lost to seeds number 9 and 10 in the first 2 rounds. So you can imagine this didn't encourage me to keep coming back to chess anymore. I was like, oh, this is horrible. And at the time, it was held side by side with the U.S. Women's Championship, and one of the girls there said, like, come on, Sam, get over it. You can still win this tournament. I'm like, I just lost the first 2 games to seeds 9 and 10 in a round robin. Like, are you completely insane? If I win this tournament, I will wear your dress and pose for pictures. And 8 wins later, I regretted those wins. Those pictures are out there somewhere. Anyhow, so by some freak of nature, I won that U.S. Junior. Then for the U.S. Chess League, still as not a grandmaster, I played for New England because I went to college up there. As not a grandmaster, playing as only grandmasters on board 1, I led New England to the only perfect season in the league's history. And then finally, I played the Berkeley International. And I'm from California, but we don't do this anymore anyway. Yeah, I played the Berkeley International, and I had taken a gap year between high school and college. I traveled the world. I played round robins in Hungary. I played opens in France and Gibraltar and all across the United States. I traveled the whole world looking for my last GM, Norman, found it in the building, and took my first chess class. So then I finally made that GM title, and having won the U.S. Junior, I qualified for the U.S. Championship. I said, okay, I'm quitting chess, but I play 1 more tournament, U.S. Championship. I came in seated 15th out of 16, got 3rd place, I won $20,000. It was all the money in the world to me at the time. That qualified me for the World Cup. So I said, I'm not going to go play the World Cup and just fly straight to Russia and go. So I said, I'll play a couple of world tournaments in Europe. Played really well. Came to the World Cup at 25-30. I beat Peter Lecko in round 1. I was like, I really tried to quit this game. It just didn't want to let me. But yeah, I mean, ultimately you have to understand, I guess what you just have to understand is there's hardships in life. And you're going to face them in chess. And it's going to brutalize you at the board. But, losers whine and complain and champions fight for it. It's just, it took me a while to learn that lesson, but eventually I did, and I'm a happy man for it. Yes?
What do you do with
I don't get into time trouble much. I'm confident in my calculations. I think time pressure, it comes for a few reasons, but the most common one that I see is people lack confidence. They will see the best move, eventually play it anyway, but second guess themselves and spend their time doing that. There's other reasons for time trouble, but this is the biggest one. So given that I don't lack that confidence, in fact, I had this problem when I was young. I had too much confidence of just playing too fast and missing stuff. So once I slowed down to a healthy level, I didn't get to the point where I was in time trouble much. Additionally, I worked very hard on opening preparation, so I'm extremely well prepared. And when, if you come to the game better prepared than your opponent, and they're thinking, and you're still in preparation, you're thinking on their clock, usually you end up with more time than that at the end. So it doesn't have to be much. Yes?
What's your opinion on bullet chess?
I don't care for it. I don't think it helps your chess.
I just think it's like how much wood can a woodchuck chuck? Just keep throwing wood.
I mean, to me, it's just a completely different game that I don't care about. And if other people enjoy it, more power to them. That's totally fine. Doesn't bother me at all. By all means, knock yourself out and go play. It's just I don't think it helps your. I don't think it hurts your normal chess. Honestly, I've heard a lot of people say that playing too much blitz or bullet hurts your classical chess. Maybe in massive amounts that's true. In general, I don't think it does, but it doesn't help either. It's just, is that something you want to spend your time doing? And if it is, go right ahead. I'm not going to stop you or tell you you're wrong for it, but it's just not something I'm super interested in. Yes, in the back.
Have you ever tried four moves checkmate?
Okay, I'm gonna have you move up to a closer seat. I really can't hear you.
Have you ever tried four moves checkmate against a highly rated player?
No, I have not. Yes.
How old were you when you started,
I took my first class at the after school club at Laureate Elementary when I was 9 years old. I played my first tournament shortly before 11, which is extremely late by today's standards, actually. But well, it's when I started. Yes.
How does a GM like yourself prepare for a major tournament like the American Cup?
So like for me, for example, I have a guy who works for me full time as a full-time second who helps me prepare openings and stuff. And so a lot of that stuff I just delegate to him. But for example, before the American Cup, I visited him in Europe for 2 weeks. We did a training camp where we prepared some deep opening ideas. And then from there, I went to Berlin where I played this Armageddon series, a little warm-up thing. And then, yeah, I mean, ultimately, I try to do like 2 to 3. I mean, I have a guy who works for me full-time, and we do little training sessions throughout the week now and then. But I try to do 2 to 3 times a year. I'll go visit him in Europe for like 2 weeks at a time and do like deep, in-depth preparation that lasts me for a few tournaments. And then during the tournament, I spend a lot of time reviewing and stuff like that. Yes.
Which one would you say you played for?
Not as much as I'd like now. I mean, we're in this tough spot where when you're low 2700, say you're between 2700 and 2730, you're way too good for any opens and you're way too good for a lot of lower round robins. But the absolute most elite tournaments in the world, especially if you're an American, and for better or for worse, there's a lot of guys who are, let's say, presently flying the US flag who have very high ratings. It makes it next to impossible to get invited to tournaments. So this year, I played American Cup, I will play Prague Masters, I will play World Cup, and then US Championship. I'm hopeful I can play more than that, but it might just be only 4 tournaments, which would really suck. I'd love to play more. But yeah, an ideal schedule, I'd say somewhere between 8 and 10 for me is good. That's of course different, if my tournaments are anywhere from 9 to 13 rounds, and yours might be shorter, so you might be able to put in more tournaments than I do, but I think 8 to 10 tournaments a year is good for me, but maybe 8 out of it. Yeah.
You're not allowed to like just go to any tournament you want, you know, get like the first place prize and like leave, like they actually tell you like what you have.
I mean, I could do that, it's just an extremely stupid thing to do. So for example, there's the Reykjavik Open going on right now. I could have played, it's whatever, 5,000 euros for first place, which is a lot less than I would make if I didn't go, let's put it that way. And then, because from whatever, like I can do creating content or teaching lessons or whatnot, and then you're the top seed by like 60 points. First of all, you're also not, I mean, if I went to the Reykjavik Open and played it, my guess is the odds I get first place are something like 20%. And that's probably quite a bit higher than everybody else, but you know, there's 100 people in the tournament. You know, like I mean, I think I probably win it more than anyone else does, but I'm still not going to win it most of the time. And you're going to lose your rating, which is definitely the most important thing in chess right now, whether you like it or not. Yeah.
You don't like spend a lot of time hours every day.
I try to do 4 really good hours. Like I really believe in quality over quantity, and 4 really solid training hours in a quiet room with no distractions and no emails open or no text messages open. Like, if I get 4 really good hours in per day, I'm not happy.
What do you usually do for 4 hours?
A lot of things. So when tournaments become close, I usually do opening preparation. I think opening work has a huge recency bias, and it's so much more likely to be useful if whatever you do is just much more likely to be useful in the immediate future than in the far future. When I don't have tournaments immediately lined up, I'm working on books, like these books I've talked about. I mean, I wrote them because I think diving into these topics helps my own interest. I do a lot of calculation exercises from my own coach, Jakob Robert. He has this thing called Homework Club at our academy together, Killer Chess Trainings, which I do every week. I mean, I think that that's the best training you can really do. All right, I'll take 2 more questions because I got it for 1:30. Yeah.
So what would you suggest for people who are like around 1,100 to 210? What's the most?
When you're that low rated, I would just say just play, just like get experience, get practical experience playing. You can learn so much there, and make sure that you're still enjoying the game. Really, just play a lot and enjoy the game. Like that's once you get higher rated, that will no longer be the main MO, but for that, a lot of it definitely is. All right, last question. Make it good.
Do you play more puzzles or do you do more puzzles or play games each day?
Mostly solving exercises. I wouldn't, I mean, puzzles I like to think of like, you know, sort of like the chess.com stuff or the Lee chess stuff. That I don't do. I have my trainer, Jakob, send me endless exercises to work on, and they're serious. What he does, he gives me a sheet, which will have 6 problems on them, and he'll say usually 45 minutes to solve all 6 of them. And I get 6 every now and then, but it's pretty rare. They're tough problems to solve. And we do that a lot at our killer chess training, but in addition to the problems that we do at our academy, he gives me several answers to me as well. All right, okay, fine. Last one. Yeah.
How technology is changing chess and how do you see it?
Well, there's definitely some ways in which the technological changes are great, and some ways which they're not. I don't like that because computers have gotten so good at opening, it's so good that like there's really not much scope for humans to find flaws in their play, and as such, for opening analysis, training your dog to press the space bar wasn't a particularly good strategy in the past. Now it's not the worst. So it's closed the door on a lot of openings, like the French is borderline unplayable now, which sort of sucks because that reduces the possibilities for you to play with black. It means with white, there's less worry about lines. It's just reducing the number of playable openings, things that were sort of shaky or second rate, but that you could still play at a high level. Like even just 5-10 years ago are no longer the case, which is sort of a shame. But at the same time, I like that technology has really democratized chess learning. Like, you know, for people who, let's say, like, my generation was the first one where computers sort of started to become relevant as I was growing up. So I was sort of a hybrid era, but like, let's say people who were older than me, born in like the 60s or the 70s, if you weren't rich, like, you just couldn't learn chess. You do need like to be able to travel to tournaments and you have top-notch coaches, and it really was a game for the aristocracy, so to speak. And basically the only people that could get good at chess were either rich people from first world countries or government-sponsored people from third world countries. That was really all there was. Now that chess learning has been democratized, if you take the learning opportunities available to some, you know, poor kid living in India with a laptop and a internet connection, compared to, let's say, 30 years ago, a rich kid living right next to the Moscow Chess Club with all the top trainers in the world, I think the poor kid today is better off. Like the fact that the chess learning has become so available to all corners of the world has definitely meant that it's no longer just a game for rich people, which I think is incredibly good and valuable and important, because I really believe it's the best game in the world, and I want chess to be accessible to everyone. So there's some good, there's some bad, but whenever the world changes, you can either adapt or die, and I choose to adapt. Fine. You can call me basic for this, but I'm going to go with United States. I like playing at home. I've been to 60 countries. I've never found one that I like more than America. But if we're saying outside of the U.S., I really like playing in Prague. I like Czech Republic a lot. So yeah, I got to eat. I got more lunch to go. For books. If I'm not mistaken, my understanding is Small Steps to Giant Moves, my first book. All of these books belong to the University of Florida, and they're giving them out as prizes. For books number 2, Small Steps to Success, and for book number 3, Calculation, which I'm going to talk about tonight, these are my books and I'm selling them. So if you guys want, and they're all signed. If anybody wants books, my books are $40 each. What I always say about that is it's cheaper here because they don't have to pay much for shipping, and I have them signed. If you don't want it, don't buy it, but if you do want it, it's better to get it now than get it online. So, yeah. All right. Yes? Cash, PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, whatever you want.